Now I have that song in my head. Do you remember that? This is the dawning of the
Of the
age
age
of
of
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
I think you're doing that thing right now where you're trying to watch my lips and sing along to me, but you don't really know the song.
No, I do know that's the only part of the song I know though.
Oh, that's my favorite thing when they zoom in on someone at a concert and they're
Oh,
looking
it's
like they're belting it out, and then you actually look at their lips and they
they're
know
like
none of the
watermelon,
words.
watermelon,
Yeah.
watermelon. Yeah.
But they're trying to be so cool that they know all the words.
And it's like, those lyrics that like everyone thinks they know because
Oh,
they've heard
yeah.
the song a million times, but it's like
So
just
you
wrong.
go in so passionately and then you're like,
Yes.
"Shit, I don't know these
I
lyrics."
love it. Well, no, it was weird because I think what made that interaction weird was our timing felt a little off. I was trying to
Did
sing with
it?
you. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay,
I
interesting.
don't know.
Do
But,
you I have a
hopefully we don't have to
history of
license that
getting
song now.
lyrics wrong, and I think this is, like, such a funny one, so I'll just share it with you guys. Um, do you remember that Zayn song? And it was one of his very first songs, but it was like, "Bet in the better wait, we've had better days, da da da."
I don't
Dun-dun
know.
gosh, it's gonna drive me crazy. Well, he's saying better days, but I thought, he has a little bit of an accent. So I thought he was saying in the bed all day. No, I'm saying it wrong. He's saying, "Let's be in the bed all day." And I kept
And you
saying
thought better days.
and I would say it almost like he couldn't pronounce his R's, like, "Bed all
Better days.
day, bed all day." And my friend Grace finally goes,
You
"What are you
just gave him a full
saying?"
of speech impediment instead of an
100%.
accent.
It's so rude of me, but I totally thought that's what he was saying. And when your friend busts you, like, she could not speak, she was laughing so hard because I was so adamantly singing it as if I had it right.
Um, do you remember we have a friend that we share in common named Elise. I don't know if she listens to this, but I'll
Oh,
just use
yeah.
her name because it's so funny. We were at a Lizzo show and she said, "Could have had a bad bitch,
Yeah.
Malcolm Middle." And I was like, "Did you just say Malcolm Middle?" And she said, "Yeah, and that the lyric?" And I said, "No, it's non-committal." And I have it on film.
So good. I
It's
mean, you
so good.
remember that show,
Malcolm
right?
Middle.
Malcolm
She, like, sang it
Middle.
with such gusto. Malcolm Middle.
That's what's so funny about it. It's like you're singing it just so passionately as if everyone's about to say Malcolm Middle.
And now all I hear is Malcolm Middle.
Malcolm Middle.
Malcolm Middle. I was like, "Why would Lizzo put Malcolm Middle in a song about?"
Why not though,
I
I
know,
mean,
I know.
you know how these raps go. I feel like
I
rappers are
mean,
always just throwing in random stuff.
I don't know if Malcolm in the Middle could have had a bad bitch, like, it's just really out
Right.
of place.
It doesn't really work
Yeah.
together. You're actually right about that. In his battle days, it
Yeah,
could have, but
battle.
in those battle days. I mean, God, now you guys go find that song, whatever it is. It's Zayn's biggest song. It was like the very first one. I was obsessed with it too, but I probably should have watched the lyric
We
video.
probably should have.
Anyway, we
We digress.
digress. But obviously, this is your favorite week, Chip, because we had Marv on the podcast, and it's astrology week. Woo!
Yay!
Chip learns astrology. We should have like a little song for that. This one is interesting though, because you and I kind of we go basically what we do whenever it's astrology is I send Chip the different themes that we talked about with Marv, and he kind of picks the ones that he's like, okay, this makes sense to me, and I could speak to this a little bit. This is like just making my brain
Blah,
jello.
blah,
I
blah.
can't, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, wah, 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 wah. So anyway, two of the topics that Marv and I covered, obviously this is Libra season. And so we touched a lot on just the Libra new moon, kind of what Libra energy is, how it's playing into everything else. There's multiple other things happening all at the same time because that's how astrology works. And one of the main things is that we are moving into the age of Aquarius, which we've been talking about for a while. Pluto
And
moved
why
into
we
Aquarius,
started singing the song.
which is why we were singing the song to make this a full circle moment.
There we go.
But anyway, those are the two themes that we're going to talk about today because they're actually a little bit, they seem like they would be contradicting energies. And I think that's what's so interesting about astrology is that often you'll have so many different things happening at once, and they can be these completely contradicting energies. And so then you go, wait, okay, how is this going to work together? And I think that's kind of an interesting thing to play on here with Libra and Aquarius. I did like you were actually Googling, you were like, "What is the Age of Aquarius?" Do you have that? Maybe you could read that for the listeners to start.
Yeah, so this is the explanation that I found. It says the age of Aquarius signifies a long astronomical?
Yeah,
Is
because
it not astrological?
but the study of the stars or the stars moving
Is
and the planets
astronomy. Okay.
moving is astronomy.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
The age of Aquarius signifies a long astronomical cycle and represents a spiritual and cultural shift towards collective harmony, equality, innovation, and humanitarianism, moving away from the individualistic me to the collective we, through a greater consciousness and global interactedness. Interconnectedness. Sorry, I can't read today, apparently. This concept, popularized by the song Aquarius from the musical Hair, suggests a new era of spiritual awakening, social and political change, and a reconnection with nature and the universal truth.
So that's like this big shift. I mean, we were in Pluto and Capricorn. I wish I could remember. This is where I'm like, I need Marv, but I can't remember how long Pluto transits are, but they're a really long time, like 20 years or something. Or I think we might be in this age for, I don't know, maybe the rest of our lives. No, maybe not. I'll look it up at some point in this podcast, but
We're
we're,
pros here.
yeah, I'm not a professional astrologer. I would never try to claim that. But, um, the Aquarius energy is this overall sense that I think I'm starting to feel. I don't know if everyone else is, but we've been so driven because we were in this Capricorn era. And it's like Capricorn is all about working hard, success at all by all means or whatever. And I think we've reached this place where like that's not working. Think about all the crazy shit that's been happening over the last couple years. It's like literally the world shut down. So capitalism doesn't really have as big of a say when you can't sell anything or like the world's not working.
Right.
And I think now because there's been so much divisiveness and fighting and the ups and the downs and we're going through tragedy after tragedy, there's this moment that's starting to happen where people are kind of like, yeah, I don't want to fight anymore. And like, how do we work together? Or maybe we do need to like think about this as a bigger conversation than just like my side of it. And that's very much this like Aquarian humanitarian piece. The other interesting thing about Aquarius though is it's the most like individual sign of the zodiac. And so it like marches to the beat of its own drum. And what Marv was talking about a lot is like you don't want to just be so attached to one group that you're
Right.
not seeing the big picture. And I think that's what we've seen, right? Like we try not to talk about politics too much on here because this is not a political podcast and I don't want it to be. But I think we've all seen and think everyone could be honest about the fact that it's felt very much like one side versus the other, right?
Right.
And
Well, I
the
think that
two sides.
well, what's interesting about what you said about the Aquarius sign, it does make a little bit of sense to me because
Okay.
I do feel like the point is the greatest way to achieve global harmony is to let everybody just be. Like be as long as it's with kindness. Like that doesn't shouldn't give license for people to be murderers and thieves and all of those things. There should be some order to society because you have to. Like we're never going to reach perfection. But I think when it comes to social issues, we should all just let people be. Be who you're going to be and lead with love. And so I can see how the Aquarius would, that energy being the individualist could also translate into sort of a message of like putting your arms around your neighbors and saying
100%.
like, hey, I don't care what color you are. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care who you voted for even. Like, let's just love each other.
Yeah. And you're
Um,
making such a good point and you're nailing it because Aquarius is so individual thinking, they're they're not judgmental at all.
right.
Like
Right.
Aquarius is so accepting of all kinds and that's where this humanitarian piece can come in too because they like being individual. They like being eccentric and I think that most Aquariuses that I know um, can accept that we all walk different journeys in life. And so why would I be the one to tell you how to do it? You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how to live your life if I haven't walked a mile in your shoes. And
Right.
most of us haven't. But Aquarius is probably going to be the first one to tell you that. Like my boyfriend's an Aquarius and he also has an Aquarius South node. So he's got a lot of Aquarius energy and he's one of the most accepting people I've ever met in my life. Like he's just like, good for them. Or, to each their
I
own.
mean,
Like
honestly, it's like sounds like the most peaceful way to live.
it
Like,
is. Like he doesn't spend time judging people. And it
yeah.
does I don't find myself I never have thought of myself to be judgmental necessarily, maybe in my younger days. But when I'm around him, I feel so judgmental because I'm like, why do I care? Why am I bitching about that thing? Like it doesn't affect me. Why do I care
Well, I mean,
at all?
often judgment is a self-reflection too, so it's like I think that if you have that Aquarius energy and you are able to like not be bothered by other people's whatevers, it probably is a that it says something about like how you don't judge and I don't know him well enough to like know if he judges himself or is
He
like beats
doesn't.
himself up over things. But I would imagine there's a lot of peace in not judging yourself. I mean, most of the things that I catch myself judging other people about is shit that I hate about myself,
For sure. Well, that's the
or
you
don't
spot it,
like
you
about
got
myself.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it sounds like being an Aquarius is pretty ideal. And it doesn't sound like the Aquariuses I know aren't like, they're not like so closed off to the world that they're unrealistic either.
No.
They're just coming from a different place. I want to go back to really quick to the Hair musical because I Googled this while we were talking because I
Okay.
wondered if Hair, the musical, which came out in 1967, was
Uh-huh.
written as um, a if it was a response to the war, and it says yes, it was a direct response to the
I
Vietnam War
didn't
and the
realize
counterculture
this.
movement of the 1960s. So it would make sense, even though we're not technically in a war right now.
Yeah.
It feels like there is a war on the brink. And even if it's more of a contextual war and not like us pulling out guns and fighting each other or having a civil war in the United States, it
Or
does
a
feel like
digital
we
war.
have been at war
For
with the
sure.
other side for
Yes.
8 to 12 years at this point. And this dawning of the new age of Aquarius that's upon us, the timing feels perfect because we're all fucking sick of it. And so maybe this is in a response to that.
It is, and this is look at you. I mean, I just feel like a proud mom right now because first of all, you just set me up for the perfect transition into Libra energy. But second
Okay.
of all, one of the things I said to Marv was, what's interesting is that I always, when we're doing our astrology podcast, I'm thinking about the United States, right? Like I'm
Right.
thinking about how this is playing out collectively, is what I always say, like collectively. But what I'm thinking about is the United States. But what's interesting is to think about the world because you said war. And yes, our war here has not looked like civil wars in the past. But to say we aren't quote unquote at war would be I think you would be kind of silly right now because there has been that. And I think even we're seeing whether it's between us and like government or us and each other or these like assassinations that are happening, the mass shootings, like there's war things happening here,
Yeah.
whether we want to admit that or not. And then in other countries, there is actual war. So,
Yeah.
like, that is a big theme right now. And that all lines up astrologically. But as you're saying, that sends us into one to craving the other side of things, which is all about balance, which is all Libra. So that's what's interesting. Like Libra's symbol in astrology is these two scales, like you would see
Mhm.
um, with a courtroom or something. And so it's like the idea being when you go to one extreme too far, Libra is always going to work to like even out the other side. So if like one side is going too heavy, like we're going too far into war, we're probably going to start wanting to go into like kumbaya, like let's all work together eventually. But it typically in the times of the past where this energy has been at play, it has been the Revolutionary War, like the French Revolution. All of these revolutions have happened during similar astrology. So it makes sense. Like it all lines up. And I think when you said like it's just kind of perfect, it's like, of course it is, because
Right.
that's what I'm always trying to say about astrology is like, it's not necessarily this weird, hokey, woo woo thing. It is literally like written in the stars, and then the energy starts happening. And so when you're aware of what's happening in the stars, you can kind of like notice it in your life and then work with it and not let it work you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because back to the point of like us being at war, even theoretically,
Yeah,
it does. I mean, when you think about war times throughout history, it's one of the things that can sadly unite the people of a country because we
sure.
have to, like 9/11 was, the start of what
Mhm.
became the war in the Middle East, and it was like the United States has never felt more together in my lifetime than the days following 9/11. I mean, I lived in New York and like, New Yorkers are fucking tough people and they don't
Mhm.
they're almost like Aquarius. It feels like every New Yorker's an Aquarius because they they seemingly don't give a shit about you, but it's like they actually just are doing their own thing.
Yeah,
But like New Yorkers really came together in that moment, and I think, I can only speak from my personal experience, but I do think like everyone sort of it rippled through America, and everyone felt it, and we were all very pro America. So in our theoretical the right versus the left war that we've been in for so many years now, it's like it does. It's like that war and the people that are trying to construct that war benefit by the right feeling like they all have to agree with each other and the left feeling like they all have to agree with each other. And at a certain point, that energy just becomes too much
mhm.
and it starts to break down. And you have to be like, wait a minute, maybe we should be leading with love and not us versus them. And I'm hoping that's where this Aquarius energy comes in and fucking saves our nation and help saves the world because
Right.
it feels like and maybe this is just a cyclical thing because of astrology, but this is the only lifetime that I remember.
Of course.
And
Yeah,
so
we've
it
never
feels
lived through
so
this.
intense, like this is gonna end the
Yeah.
world. And but I do believe that humanity at some point will step in and um sort of right the wrongs that have been
Well, you would
happening right now.
hope. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's always the goal. It's so interesting you brought up the 60s though, because I was talking about that with my parents recently. And I think this Charlie Kirk assassination, again, we don't talk about political stuff that much, but we keep talking about this one. And like to me, this is more just like cultural things happening. I'm not taking a side one way or the other um on this day, on this topic. But we were talking about that assassination, and my dad was, my parents lived through the 60s, obviously. And he was
Hmm.
like, this feels so reminiscent of those times in a way where it was like these political figures or public figures that we have fighting for a cause or whatever are getting assassinated. I mean, you have to think back about like Martin Luther King and then both the Kennedy men and Malcolm X, like all these people during that time were just being shot out in
Yeah.
broad daylight. And then it's like all of the issues when you really think I noticed this. I watched this show First Lady back in the day. I can't remember what network it's on. It was so great, but it was so eye opening for me watching the women that they had. I think I've talked about it on this podcast, but the women that they had on, and they were one was playing Michelle Obama, one was Eleanor Roosevelt, and then one was Betty Ford. And it was so wild because all three of them were fighting for the same issues that we're fighting about now, like women's rights, gay rights, racism. Like it's all the same thing. It's like we recycle the same arguments, and sometimes they get louder than others, and sometimes we like move forward with new um rules about things or whatever, or then we go backwards or whatever, but it's all the same thing. We've been doing it for our entire country's existence if you really think about it.
Well, I mean, it's a really easy thing to get people worked up about because
Right.
it others somebody, and
Yes.
it's a great way to like stoke fear.
Mhm.
Um, when if you really take a step back and look and think there's enough money, there's enough food, there's enough work to go around.
Yeah.
And but because of fear, we have to target certain, sects of people, and I don't mean a sect, sects, sects of people to be like, No, they can't have what I have because that means I'm gonna have less of it, and that's just really not the case. But, the evil powers that be are really good at making you feel like that's true. And so, it's what's a really easy way to, like, say that someone's different than you is by the color of their skin. You don't even have to open your mouth, and you can suddenly have fear. So racism is, like, one of those really hard things that, like, is going to be really difficult to squash because it's such an easy thing to make people scared, it's you can't hide it, or
Yeah,
you can't hide race, because it's
right.
just a visual cue.
Well, I think
Um
the interesting thing too is like what I'm noticing as I just stay as an observer, which is another thing that Marv and I talked about, like the importance of not attaching too hard to one thing or one side or one narrative, but trying to stay an observer in all and just like, what do I think? That's very Aquarius. It's like, be in the situation and then ask yourself, what do you think without someone else telling that to you or like, dictating that for you. Or you're just so associated with one side, you're not using your own free thinking mind anymore.
Mhm.
But the thing that dawned on me, like, not to bring up Charlie Kirk again, but I'm going to bring it up again. But what I noticed was there were some people, obviously, that were so quick to want to go to blame of
Mhm.
the other side. And I think that's such a normal human thing to we need to blame someone when we're in pain of some sort or when we're in fear. And so, what I've observed from the outside is all of us just trying to do the thing that's going to make us feel safe. And so, I know for some people, anything other than what they are makes them feel unsafe
Mhm.
and it's scary. So, it's like everyone's just fighting for a sense of security, where there's others that feel safer when we're all treated equally, whether that means you are of a minority or not. But I just think it's like so interesting to watch everyone scramble for safety and we're all just trying to get there through a different route. And the
Mhm.
Charlie Kirk thing came in and it was like everyone wants to point blame at somebody really fast because it's scary, right? Like
Yeah.
it's scary to watch someone out in our world living his life just be shot in broad daylight. Like that is scary. It
Mhm.
scared me. It scares a lot of people. All the other shootings that happened scary. Like it's
Yeah.
just like scary that that's what's happening in our world and you never know when that might happen again or whatever. But I think what we can all cling to right now is maybe like we all are trying to find a sense of security and focusing on that, like being honest with yourself about that, but also like okay, well, how do I find it for myself in this moment? And like you said, be a law abiding citizen about it. We're not trying to like encourage anything outside of that, but also just like not hating on everyone else's route to that. I don't know if that's fair or not, but in my head, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I keep wanting to like get other people to safety through the route that works for me, but that's not gonna what's gonna work for them. Like if
Right.
you think about it on a smaller scale, the things that you and I feel comfortable with as individuals are probably different.
Absolutely.
So it's like
Um
opening up that world for everyone.
Well, it's funny because I mean, obviously, we're trying to not be political here because this isn't just about politics. But
You've also
like,
said that so many times, I'm, like, annoyed with us right
I
now.
know, I know.
We're
But
not political, but here's a political topic I'm gonna talk about.
well, no, and this isn't even a political topic. It's just I think about when it was election season and I was trying to have conversations with people that I knew, like particularly family members who were going to be voting differently than me. And me trying to make my case, I was often asked, like, because, I grew up in a Republican house, like my family are Republicans and I'm not. And this is, all love to Republicans out there because I've got plenty of them that I love in my family. This isn't meant to sound like a blanket statement, but my dad would be like, "Well, why are you a Democrat?" Like, and I would say to him, "Dad, like the label doesn't mean anything to me, to be honest. But when I go to vote, I don't just go into that ballot box and think about myself. I try to think about the we and not me. And will that mean, like, maybe, yeah, I'll have to pay a little bit more taxes? Yeah, but, like, I also don't like potholes, and I want there to be books in schools, and, like, I want the things, like, I want there to be social, safety nets for people that don't have them. I recognize that I grew up with the privilege of having a family that was together and had a generational wealth. We lived in a house that our grandmother gave my mom, like, It's and by all means, I didn't grow up rich, but there is privilege to that. I knew that I was never gonna have to worry about a meal. So, when I go to vote, I try to think of the we. Like, there's the Aquarius in me, you know? Um, but I also understand that, like, my parents vote from a place of me because they're scared of losing what they have. So it's hard for me to hate on them for that. And I tried to like not make it super policy driven and just been like, hey, I want you to think about other people. Like you have two granddaughters, you have a gay son. Like think about them, think about me when you go into that voting booth. Don't just think about yourself. And even though that ask sounds selfish, it's not about me. It's about like all of the me's that like our rights are being infringed upon when seemingly the things that my parents thought that were being infringed upon them really had nothing to do with them. Like an immigrant's going to take their job. Like they're both fucking retired. Like not going to happen. But anyway, my point is it is more about the we versus me, and I think that plays into this conversation just sort of on an energetic level too, because I think that's what it's going to take for us to sort of come back from this is we have to start thinking collectively and not selfishly.
But to play devil's advocate,
Hmm.
yes, we have to start thinking collectively for sure. Like what works on a bigger scale for more people or whatever.
Hmm.
But we're never actually going to get to a place where we all agree on that. And I've like
No.
really started to accept that now. And that also is Aquarius though. That's what Marv is saying when he's saying try not to attack, like, let's call it left and right now. It's like try not to attach so hard to all things left or all things right, because what is right for you as an individual also matters here. And like you have a brain, use it, use your brain. That's not just someone spewing out stuff, because everything you just said, I've heard someone on a Republican side say the exact same thing.
Right.
And
Right.
that's kind of the thing that I think, like, I think we're so scared to make this political on this podcast because of it just has felt so divisive, and we don't seem to have the capacity to have conversations with people coming from different places. That hasn't been the case. I'm hoping that's gonna change, and, like, what I would say is I'm not an expert in politics, and so that's why I feel uncomfortable talking about it sometimes, because you get so much hate for stating an opinion. And all we're stating is like from our perspective of where we stand in this world. So are most people
Yeah.
and most listeners. Like we don't have political commentary people probably listening to this podcast. It's very not in the lane. Who knows? Maybe we do. But all I'm saying is like that's not the goal here. We're talking about more spiritual stuff than politics are. But I think that we do need to start having like trying to grow our capacity to have conversations with people who don't necessarily see things through the exact same lens as us. And I had that experience a couple weeks ago with a friend of ours who we don't see eye to eye at all on anything. We're coming from completely different places. But I really enjoyed having to like work the muscle of not letting myself get so worked up when she would say her perspective and where she was coming from, and reminding myself consistently over that conversation, she has had a different life experience than me. And in
Hmm.
her life experience, the values that she's expressing make sense. I could see why that is like where she's coming at this from. And then I think she gave me the same respect of like, okay, Kelly's life experience has led her to make, these decisions or to believe in these things or to need these things for security in her life. And we had a respectful conversation. We didn't even have to say like agree to disagree, because we just kind of were like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I see it this way. But yeah. And she would say, I see where you're coming from. Like,
Yeah.
and that was a beautiful experience. But we need to practice that muscle, I think, because I think we've gotten so just everyone's going to vomit their opinion and I'm right and you're wrong. And how do you see this way? And how do you not see it this clearly and whatever? And we're not remembering we each have individual experiences and we're each here on a different journey. And that's going to keep playing out. So, how do we
Yeah.
learn to
That was
like
till the
work
end of
together
time.
on a greater scale?
Yeah. And change never comes from being forced to change. Change will come
Say
from
that again? That just confused me.
change will never come to be from, like, trying to force someone to change. The
Oh,
only
you're
way
not
that
gonna, like,
someone's gonna
argue someone
change
into changing.
No, the only way that that someone might change is by being listened to, truly, because you're not gonna be able to even ask them the right follow-up questions to get them to change unless you
Mhm,
listen to their point of view.
mhm.
If you just come in hot, and I'm not even talking about politics, like, this is in any situation. If you're talking about, like, whether or not a song is good,
Yeah.
if you just come in with guns a-blazing being like, "You're wrong, and this is why," then you're never gonna get through to somebody because that they don't feel safe. They don't.
You know what? You know what's so interesting? As you were saying that, though, I was thinking to myself, I actually think I have only experienced people changing on their own accord because their life experience shows them something. Like, it's
Right.
never been because I'm just like, "Let me tell you something."
Yeah, totally.
Like, I want to, of course, and so many times, like, I'm thinking back to past relationships, and I always say this on this podcast, where I say, I just thought to myself, "If I just say this in another way, like, if I just express it at a different time in another tone of voice, and I word it differently, then they'll
They'll
understand."
get
The
through, yeah.
if-thens used to, like, annihilate me in relationships because it would keep me stuck for so long thinking, "If only, then this," you know? And the reality is I wasn't ever gonna say it right. I was never gonna say it in a way that was, like, heard by the other side of the other person or whatever, because that wasn't their life experience at that time. And the only thing I could do was start to worry about me and, like, "Hey, this is impacting me negatively, and the only person that's gonna make that better for me is me."
Me,
Like,
yeah.
they can't do any
Peace out, yo.
well, it just I mean, unfortunately, yes, the relationships needed to end, but that and that's sad and that's a part of the process. But I think it's like I had to get to the realization of I can't talk my way into making the perfect relationship that I'm seeking right now because with this person because we're just not aligned. So it
Right,
doesn't matter. And that's what I think on a bigger scale too is like we kind of got to give everyone the space for life to happen and I think that is what's happening a little bit versus the yelling and screaming at each other like let's let this play out a little bit because I think as it plays out, we're all starting to see maybe we're more aligned than we think on some things.
right.
And maybe we need to kind of like get out of the way or we need to like come together on some things that we're like agreeing on against bigger forces, you know?
Yeah,
And a
yeah.
lot of that is Libra. Like a lot of that is about the balancing that's happening. And it'll be interesting to me to see kind of what happens in this Libra season because I think we are gonna be craving a little more balance and a little more, let's not fight. Like Libra, I have a Libra stellium and I hate like I will fight for the fucking underdog all day. Like when things are unjust or unfair, it kills me. Like I cannot take it. And so often like if I see something that feels not fair, I have to go argue it and I have to seek balance for all. And that's just
Mhm.
very much the energy that's coming. Like it, I mean, and it can take me over. It's wild. Like mama
Uh-oh.
bear.
Kelly's putting her gloves
I'm
on.
just saying, I just that I have a lot of cancer too, so it's all the mama bear stuff. But balance, fairness, harmony, relationships, justice, how do you say that? Yeah,
Diplomacy.
diplomacy, that's right. Um, Libra wants peace, equality, and beauty,
Ooh,
but often struggles with indecision because they see all sides. So that's
right.
where Marv is like, you've got to stay with your brain, stay in your individual thinking, like tap into your Aquarius where you want to think for yourself and like lean into all your eccentric parts of yourself or whatever makes you you. And then on a bigger scale, like, how do we make this place beautiful again? Because it's a shit show.
Mhm.
So do these things make sense, like, how they come together?
Yeah,
Is it kinda
absolutely, yeah.
wild? Like, do you see this happening on a bigger scale in our world right now? Do you see it playing out in your day-to-day life or anything?
I've definitely felt a shift. I mean, I don't know that I can not to make him the subject of this, the subject of this podcast, but, like, I do think that the Charlie Kirk assassination
Yeah.
is gonna be sort of a turning point. Oh gosh, pun intended,
Oh,
not
wow.
intended.
Yeah.
Um, Because I do think, I mean, obviously, no one should die for the words that they're saying. Whether you agree with this or not, a murder is a horrific thing, or agree with what he was saying or not. I did not agree with him.
Mhm.
Um, but I do agree that
He
everyone is
shouldn't have been
entitled to an
shot.
opinion,
Yes,
and we
agree.
have the First Amendment right to say what we want to say in this country, and you should not die for that. In the same way that Martin Luther King should not have died for what he was saying.
Mhm.
And I understand why the martyrdom is happening for him, for the people that like stood behind him and believed what he was saying and agreed with what he was saying. But I also think that there was a moment where we saw people, public figures who gravely disagreed with what this man said, who stood up and said what we're saying right now. Like, he did not deserve to die. Murder is not the answer. Violence is not the answer. Let's pray for his family, all of the things. And I feel like that is the mark of a major shift,
Mm.
because we haven't had something like that where the sides that were disagreeing had to somewhat come together for a
Could
moment and
all
be
just
like,
be like,
wait a
"Yo, this
minute.
wasn't
Yeah.
okay." Yeah.
Even though there was like blame being pointed and a lot of shitty things that came from it too, like people getting fired for expressing their First Amendment right. Um, it did feel like those in powers all did sort of get on the same page for a minute, or most
Mhm.
of the people. So that shift of energy, I think, sort of reverberated across the lands. And I hope that, it does turn out to be the point that like was the shift. Um, Personally, do I feel any shift? I mean, it's hard for me to say right now because my work life is so taken over my personal life that like,
Interesting though,
um,
because we're moving into Libra season, so if you're all about work and neglecting the rest of your life, you're probably gonna pay some consequences. Like, it
right.
is all about finding balance, so that's
Yes.
something to consider.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's good to know because if I feel like I'm fighting that, I know why.
Yeah, and if you feel like you're being pulled to not be in balance, I would assume your instinct will somehow be like, "Well, I'm really tired," but it's like it's not it's about I'm trying to think of how I wanna say this. What I have learned from working with astrology is that it's not like, Marv could tell me something or I'm reading something about the different transits and I go, okay, well, I'm gonna apply that to my life, definitively right now. But what it does make me do is just start noticing. So
You're
it's like
right.
something will happen. Like I've been super busy with work too. And because I know and I'm having these conversations with Marv and with you and whatever, and it's in the forefront of my mind, what happens for me when I start to realize I'm booking my days down to the minute every day, I'm like, okay, that's a recipe for burnout. And you know
Hmm.
yourself. Like Libra for me is in my sixth house for any astrology people. So it's all about balance in my day to day activities and my health. So basically, if I overwork every time, I'm going to get sick. Like physically, my health will start to pay the consequences. And you've watched this happen to me for years. Like the
Hmm.
joke in our group, and this has been my whole life too, is I'm just like sickly. Like I'm always sick. But it's because I have to make such a conscious effort to, like, take care of my body, and I can't do the things that I wanna strive to do as my Capricorn South Node is always telling me to overwork and, like, really, like, overcommit and do the things because I can think I wanna sacrifice myself to make the things happen, but I will pay the consequences, and that's all. It's like, you can do that. You can totally throw yourself so far into work and forget about your routines or your workouts or whatever, but eventually, it's gonna have to swing back, and so you might as well really try to work as best you can to make the conscious effort right now of being as much in balance as you possibly can. It's not always feasible for us to be completely equal, but it's like, okay, I know I'm really busy, so I need to make sure I wake up 30 minutes earlier so that I can still get my workout in because that's
Right.
something I've made a decision to,
Your
prioritize or whatever.
non-negotiables. Yeah.
It's your non-negotiables. Yeah.
It's funny too because I do, as you were talking, like the last few days have been just insane for me in terms of like the amount of work I've been trying to get done, and the imbalance. Like, I haven't
Yeah.
showered for 2 days, And
Here
I
he
just
goes.
literally have
He
not
is
had
all the
time.
way down on what's up
But
that scale.
but there was a moment today where I was like, okay, I know that it's a very specific window. There's new client, there's a release coming. There's all of this stuff is just stacked at the same time.
Yeah.
So I recognized today, I was like, this is just a moment.
Mhm.
Work through this. Recognize that you're working through this moment, and then you'll find the balance again. And normally I wouldn't have had that thought. I normally would have just been like, I'm gonna die. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I would have
And it
just like gotten super frazzled and let that play into me. And I'm like, no, I can get through this. I can
yeah.
handle this.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the Libra season, tapping me on my
Kicking
shoulder.
in. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
seriously, that is how it happens. And then once you start to notice it in one place, you just start noticing it way more. And then you can actually be conscious about the way you are working with it. Like, for me, I'm like, okay, this is a season where I really do need to lean into balance, or else I know where it will go because I've done it so many times the other way.
Mhm.
And this is another season that's going to constantly be bringing me back to that. And right now I'm being pulled too to go work a lot and whatever. But like, I even have already planned out, I'm like, okay, the thing that has been helping me the most is putting lavender oil in my bath every night. And it's making me sleep so well. And so I'm like, okay, that is a non negotiable for me now. And I will carve out the extra 20 minutes that I need that at night versus just trying to get in bed and then shame myself because I can't fall asleep. Like
Right, right.
it's just doing those kind of things. And like you said, you have the end goal. And that's the way our job works sometimes is you have seasons of craziness. So it's just gonna be like that. But if
Yeah.
you have the end goal and then you have your things in place to take care of yourself, you'll probably be fine. Like that's just
Mhm.
but that's balance. That's
Yeah.
finding it the best you
Yeah.
can. I just think it's interesting the two energies together. Like I read this earlier, but it says like structurally, there's the Libra where we're like picking sides, but then we also have this like group versus independence thing of the Aquarius happening. So but you can tie them together under these this umbrella of balance and freedom. And I think those are the things we all want, right?
Yeah,
Balance
it's
and freedom. So those are the big energies right now. There's other things at play. If you guys want to know about that, you can always go listen to me and Marv dissect it all because there is a lot going on. But that's we've said that. I feel like I've been saying that on repeat every time we do an astrology podcast. But that's the season we're in. When Marv talked about that too. Like with Pluto, it's going to tear us down to then build us back up. But he said Pluto does always come with pain. So that's what we've been feeling is this pain of the teardown, the breakdown, the like deconstruction, but it's going to be rebuilt. And so maybe we can like try to focus on that positive energy. I don't know that we're quite to the rebuilding yet,
right.
but to not
We're laying
feel
the
so out
foundation.
of control with, oh my God, this is just a lot right now. Like it's going to be a lot for a while. It just is.
Mhm.
2025 is probably going to be a lot for the rest of the year at least. And I don't really know exactly yet when the end is, but it's not going to be just like this, what I think we all want, which is like we wake up tomorrow and this is over. Like it's a process and learning to work with it will probably make it easier. Stop trying to fight it. Like it's going to happen. So, yeah, that's what's happening in this month. I actually feel like you were like very astrology based today. It was kind of weirding me out.
They got all woo woo on
All of
us.
a sudden, he is the Age of Aquarius.
I'm just dancing naked with a group of people like in hair.
I feel like you will be next weekend at your
I might
birthday.
be. I might be.
We're gonna have a lot of stories for you guys. We're going to Key West for Chip's birthday next week. Oh my God,
Oh my
50.
god,
Here we
it's so
are.
crazy. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. I'm not technically turning 50 next week, but
You're
celebrating
moving
early.
into your 50 era though.
Yes. Yeah, I am. I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys can
Anyway.
always email us. Let us know how the astrology is working for you. You can email us at theedge@velvetsedge.com. I am at Velvet's Edge on Instagram. Chip,
I'm at Chip Dorsch. It's ChipDorsch.
our joint Insta and podcast Insta is also at Velvet's Edge. You can check our description for this podcast for all the other places you can find us. Come join along. Come chat with us. I really want to like keep building a community that we can talk to that's not necessarily like as aggressive as the rest of social media. I don't know where we're going to find that, but let's just like start here
Let's
where we
create it
have
ourselves. Yeah.
places Yeah, we just gotta keep I know that we have our people out there, and I just think that we all gotta lean on each other, right now while we collectively go through some shit. So let's do that. Check us out, hit us up, and as you guys go into your weekend and you're living on the edge, I hope you always remember to
Act casual.
bye.
Bye.